We should be live. Let me see. We're live on YouTube and we're live on Facebook. Beautiful.
Okay. I can't see Facebook yet.
I can see it.
How do you go with TikTok?
I couldn't get TikTok. I couldn't.
That's
We
right.
need to speak about that.
Yeah, no worries.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of the Christian Warrior Project. We're going to cover what happened on Sunday afternoon, that tragic event where a father and a son opened fire on Jewish people, killing them indiscriminately, taking their time and methodically moving through everything and killing as many people as they can.
Interesting. What I found, I've been sharing a little bit on this subject on social media. I don't get that into social media now, but I've just started picking it up a little bit more. And it's amazing that how many people are jumping on straight off the bat saying false flag. Now I go, yeah, okay, this could be a false flag in some particular way, but people definitely died, and they just straight away saying it's the Jews. The Jews did it to themselves. I just think it's mental that people have become that manipulated and that stupid that they would just jump straight into that without. So I always ask, where's the evidence? Evidence, please. Then nothing. There's people sharing pictures of the guy who allegedly committed the younger guy, the son who was one of the shooters, proving that he's a Jew. He's a Jewish guy, right? Right? Like, it's so ridiculous that where these people's heads are at. Like, these people have had a number done on their brain, on their mind. It's a proper mind virus, and maybe there is a false flag part to it, because I definitely can see that straight away we've got the restriction on gun laws, but that doesn't mean that these people were extreme jihadis who hated us. Just because there might be another element to this, being government elites being used to restrict our ability to defend ourselves even further, that I think it's all part of the one thing, that the reason that they've brought in these kinds of people, these extremist people, the reason that these extremists were able to get access to guns legally and then go out there and shoot all these people, that's literally the whole agenda, so that they can control us and then just bring in more and more. I don't even think it's completely about controlling us and taking away our freedoms. I think that's just one aspect to it. There is the terror aspect of it as well. And the truth is, being honest, we don't know all of the variables yet. All we know is that there's things that look fishy. There's a whole lot of AI generated images, including the one where you've got the guy it looks like he's getting makeup on, the South African Jewish guy with all the blood. There's a picture circulating that's proven to be AI. That's been debunked, and people are saying, see, it's all a stage. So because it's a picture of it looks like a film set of him getting blood painted onto him, but that's just AI. So the idea that it's all the false flag, because these people are getting this idea because they're seeing all of this garbage circulating. And that's where I think people need to have a bit more discernment. We went through COVID, you've gone through all these other false narratives. Surely by now we know, this is one of them. Look at it. Have a look. This has been proven to be. Click on that video. Actually, before you do that, go to the picture. This is the picture on the left. That's the picture that people have been sharing, saying it's a false flag because of this picture. It's an AI generated picture. Then go to that.
You know what I've been doing lately? I've been posting links up in Grok, and I ask Grok to check to see if it's AI.
Yep.
And It's pretty
Play
accurate.
that.
Yeah, you can tell it's too clean. It's way too
Well,
clean.
play the video there. It's an actual video. You can play it.
1 sec. Let me go back. Yeah, that's AI, 100%. You can tell.
Because that's what Simon's. My mate Simon's actually, debunking it, showing people. There's heaps of that stuff.
Let me see.
There's loads of it. Whenever these things happen, there will be that the alter narratives coming in, or just all the rubbish that comes out to muddy the water, so no one can work out what's really going on. So you've got to look at what you can see for sure. What we can see is there's two guys killing Jewish people. We know that.
Yeah, straight away. Yes, the Facebook post you linked appears to be an AI-generated profile.
There you go.
Mate, do your due diligence, people. Seriously.
But it's
you
more.
really have to.
It's more than that, though. It's more than that. It's what it is. It's people jumping the gun on the false. So there are that many people saying things like it's all a false flag. It's the Jews behind it. It's Mossad. 100% it's Mossad. Evidence. Where's the evidence of that? You're just saying it, and that's what drives it grinds my gears so much when I see people say, "Oh, definitely Mossad." How would you know if it's Mossad? Who are you to know that it's that one of the most secretive intelligence military operations in the world, but you just happen to know, it's Mossad? Like, just the arrogance of it drives me mad. I get sick of people. Like, I don't even want to engage with these people because it's so ridiculous that you're so arrogant that you know that it's Mossad. Maybe it is Mossad. I'm open to it. I'm open to it, Ben. Maybe it is. Maybe they did this and they killed their own people and it's all staged, everything else. Maybe. But where's the evidence of it? No, there's not. All these people jumping on saying it is without providing anything to prove that it is.
You know what I believe? I believe easily that God, and for this God shall send them strong delusion that they should believe a lie.
Yep.
There are people that just don't want the truth.
Read the previous verses. It says, because they love not the truth that they could be saved, for this cause God will send them a strong delusion that they'll believe a lie.
Yeah. And 1 sec, can you read it?
No, I can't from there. Let me see.
With all deceivables of unrighteousness in them that perisheth, because they receive not the love of the truth that they might be saved. But for this God shall send them strong delusion that they shall believe a lie. And then may they all might be damned who believe not the truth, but had pleasure in unrighteousness. There are people that are so sucked up into this whole anti-Zionist, anti-Jew, anti-everything. One word I'm going to tell you straight away. Yeah. If your foundation and your belief system is hanging on the hate of a people group, like when Nick and I speak about Islam, we're not talking about Muslims. We're talking about Islam. We're talking about an ideology, right? If you're hanging on this narrative, Zionism, that obviously has got negative connotations because the devil literally has spiritual bondage over that word, so that whoever is sucked into it, they're just they go along with it. It's this spiritual battle.
Mate, I had that many people comment on. I shared a couple of things on Facebook, and I had that many people say Mossad 100%, 100% Mossad. You're just making yourself look stupid to anyone that has a brain when you say stuff like that, as if you would know. Are you in the in those secret circles where you know what's going on and that you can share with us? Great, thank you. But they're not. They're just spewing out this false rhetoric. So we can't, and there's people that believe it. It's because so many people are sharing the same garbage. Like just because heaps of people say a thing doesn't make it true. That's the reality of this. Just because lots of people are all saying Mossad, the Jews did it, doesn't mean that they actually did. And it's so ridiculous, an idea, a concept to think that these people would be killing themselves. There is actually a hatred towards Jews in the Islamic text and in the Islamic communities of the world. It's not something that doesn't exist. It actually exists, and you can prove it objectively by just showing what their actual biblical, their Quranic text shows. It says to hate the unbelievers. It says to, for the sake of Allah. It says to kill the Jews and the Christians wherever you see them. And of course, when you bring this up to Muslim evangelists or just Muslims in general who think who want to argue it and downplay it, they will say, well, there's context to it. But there's not really, though. There's not really context, because we see people applying it in, whether it be, these extremist groups, Boko Haram, or ISIS, or the rest of it, and people that support it. I mean, I've met people at the fight gyms who are Muslims who actually think that the Islamic regime in Iran are great, and they're not Iranian people, and they think that they're great and what they're doing is good. They think that a lot of these extremist groups around the world, what they're doing is it's justifiable. These people, to me, are just mad. I think these people shouldn't be in our country. They don't share our values. They add no value. But in their minds, from having discussions with some of these people, they would think, well, they're bringing Islam. They're bringing Islam to the West. Well, you know what? We don't want it here. We don't want Islam in the West, because wherever it goes, it turns everything into garbage. That's what it does. And if you get offended because of that, well, that you're offended at the truth. I'm just the messenger here, sharing the truth, and as a result of sharing the truth, quite often people get offended.
Here's perfect. All those who believe, do not take any enemy or your enemies as friends, having a love for them. What's an enemy of Islam? Anybody that's not a Muslim.
That's right. That's all it is. So
you have to hate for the sake of Allah.
Yep.
All those who believe, do not take Jews or Christians as friends.
Yep.
For they are friends amongst themselves.
That's it.
What's hard to understand about that? There's your clear book.
And then people would say, "Oh, but not all not all Muslims, think this or believe or would apply that." Okay, but if they say they're a Muslim and that's what the Islamic text teaches, well, isn't it? Don't you think it would be a risk to let these people into our country? And all the data across the board, and I think one of the best examples, that you could share, who cites this information, would be Bridget Gabriel, and she goes through the data and says, it's 10 to 25% of Islamic population, across the board in different jurisdictions. That's 10 to 25%. That's the data. Somewhere in there, depending on which jurisdiction it is, are considered to hold radical tendencies and hold to radical ideologies. So what we're going to just go, well, you know what, we should open the doors up to these people because they're not all bad. Well, you know what, but a lot of them are. And if you look at countries like Poland, not a single terrorist attack, and Christianity intact, Christian culture intact, beautiful Christianity intact, because they don't accept all the Marxist garbage, because they had a solidarity movement that fought it really well, fought against Marxism and communism. And because of that, they know who they are, their culture's intact, they have a very strong Christian culture, and they don't let any immigrants in from that part of the world, from those parts of the world, from the Islamic world. And they don't have any of the issues that we have here and have in the West. Christmas markets throughout Europe have to have bollards up because they've had an issue with jihadi Muslims driving cars into the people and killing them. They also have pro-Palestinian protesters protesting at the Christmas markets. They also have Muslim evangelists playing their Islamic prayers in there deliberately. So this is what happens when you let these people in. When you let an acid and a base and put it in the same space, what happens? It blows up. And I'll ask you, Ben, have we had any examples of Jewish people going on a rampage and killing Christians or any other group? Does that happen?
Can't see it.
Do we have Jewish
In fact,
guys driving cars into Christmas markets where we have to now fortify the Christmas markets in Western countries with bollards? No, we don't have that. But we have the other from the Islamic community. So this is not hating the Islamic community because what we're doing is pointing out objective facts that we can measure with statistics and data.
yeah. Hey, I just want to address Sharon Gunn is asking, how the F do you know what you're reading is a truth? And then she goes again, I'll say it again. How do you know what you're speaking is a truth? To me, it's very simple. Number one, it needs to match up with the Word of God. And that's why it's so important that if you're not a Christian, right, you really only have, look, in this world, we're all sheep. We all follow someone or something, or we follow society or what's acceptable. But as a Christian, we follow our Lord. And, when I make a decision to see what is the truth and what isn't, the decision has to be made out of love. And I have to judge with love. The Bible's very specific. It says, judge others as you would like to be judged. I don't want to be judged like the Muslims judge the Jews. I want to judge them with love. And I want to judge the Muslims with love. Okay? That's why Nick and I will never sit there attacking the Muslims. We'll attack the ideology, which is insane, batshit crazy ideology. And at the end of the day, right, everything that we read has to match up with the Word. That is the rock of our foundation.
So what we have in our country now and in Western countries is you have underage girls getting married off, multiple wives getting married, women getting put, getting pressured to wear niqabs, burqas. This is reality. This is what we end up seeing in the Western country. This is completely in opposition to what we have as a Christian culture, where we have women and men being equal value, equal in intelligence, and all the data proves that they are equal in these ways. The Islamic text doesn't teach that, though. Yet the Muslims will argue and fight with you over this and say, yes, it does. You're an Islamophobe, Nick Patterson. How dare you say this? But if all you're going to do is weigh up and measure the actual teachings of Muhammad with the teachings of Jesus, and you know what? If you look at all the Islamic countries, you'll see something that's very consistent with them all, that women are oppressed. And not all of them are, but a lot of them are. Whereas if you look in Western society, you will see that they're not. Now, and our Western society isn't solely Christian anymore, yet it still maintains those Christian ideas and ideals of equality before the law, equality between the sexes, freedom of speech, freedom of, and the reason we're losing freedom of speech, it really is because of the Islamic push and the Marxist push into our society. That's what's taking those Christian principles away. And just so people know, the reason freedom of speech exists in countries now, and especially in the West, was because of Christian ideas and principles, where the Bible inspired people in their culture and in the formation of their political structure, that people have a right to speak freely, to express ideas. This is all biblical Christian stuff. And now, we had that argument with the Muslim evangelists in the city the other week, and we haven't actually shared much of that footage, but we had a discussion with them, and they had the nerve and the gall to promote ideas that I knew and they knew were lies, for the purpose of promoting their ideology to people. That's what they do. This is what I find really offensive, and this is where people, especially Christians, need to suck it up with all these feelings and all this compassionate stuff, and actually start fighting and standing up. It doesn't mean fight them physically. That's probably going to happen too. We just saw someone attacking people with guns, so that's on the agenda too. But just get over this idea that we need to be nice to everybody. It's complete garbage. The actual word nice, if you look up the etymology of the word nice, what it actually means, it means weak and foolish. That's what it means. They've turned that into a virtue. You know what? I don't want to offend people. I want to keep everybody happy, unite everybody. It's rubbish. You actually have to pick a side. You have to. Choose you this day who you will serve. Whether you're going to serve these gods over here or the Lord. As for me and my house, we'll serve the Lord. That's it. It's that simple. You have to choose. If you stand on the fence because you don't want to offend anyone, well, I'll tell you what, absolutely.
Ignorant via old French meaning foolish or silly.
There you go.
I mean, nice is more like aesthetically pleasing. So when you're speaking to someone, you're trying to be aesthetically pleasing, but you're not being factual. You might as well be factual, and you're not going to be liked, just like Jesus said, I didn't come to bring peace but a sword, because the truth divides. It's just the way it is.
Yeah, exactly. He came not to bring. There's actually one of those verses. I think it might be the one in Luke, but I might be wrong. He says, "I came not to bring peace, but division." He came to bring division. And if you look at the other one of the other verses that I was sharing today, and I can't remember the verse on the top of my head, but I can quote most of it. But basically, he says, I think it's in Matthew 6, and it says, you'll be hated for my name's sake. Yeah. People will separate you from their company. People will persecute you. And why? Why does this happen? Because of for his name's sake, who is Christ? He's the truth. That's it. So that's what Christians should be holding to. They should have a bit more gumption, a bit more strength to stand up for themselves and go, hey, that's wrong. We don't want that here. But too many of these Christians have drunk the Kool-Aid that, but I don't want to offend the nice ones and the good ones. Oh, you can't. How do you know which ones are? You've got to go, you know what, Islamic community, sorry, we don't want your Islam here. And the reason we don't want it here is because it doesn't provide any value to our society, and it actually goes to war with our principles and our culture, whereas we don't find that to be the case with the we don't find the Jewish community, going to war with our values and our principles. We really don't. But we have Muslim evangelists teaching en masse that Jesus didn't die on the cross, and that it's okay to marry children that are 6 years old because that's what their Muhammad did. And they're publicly defending these ideas. I don't know how you could even do it. I don't understand it. But I have an obligation to. I believe it's more important to speak against child marriage than it is to not speak against it because you might offend somebody who you think's a nice Muslim.
If we don't, if you want to know what the truth is always going to be inconvenient. And sitting there trying to make excuses for what your prophet's done, that's when you got to do a double take and say, do I really love the truth? Or am I going to keep making excuses for this man? Because I was brought up and taught that he was the perfect example. No, there was only one perfect example. That's Jesus Christ. Never sinned, never lied, and he died on the cross for you and I, when we didn't deserve it. And whether you accept that or not, at the end of the day, there's no better example. He didn't go around telling everybody, hey, be pure, and he was impure, like a lot of pastors and preachers and Muslims do, No, it's got nothing to do with that. It's got everything to do with the fact that he actually practiced what he preached. And he didn't live an exorbitant lifestyle. He had, the Bible says, what the birds, I can't remember, it says, the Son of Man has no bed to lay his head in, or something like that.
Well, see,
remember that verse?
Yeah, I do. Jen's just said child marriage is pedophilia, and no way in hell this is happening in our country. It is happening in our country. It actually is. There's been scandals. There's been actual court cases because of this, where they've had very young girls married to older men in in the mosques over here. Like it's actually happening. It is. We have multiple wives, of these men, and they're getting single parent pensions. That's not even a conspiracy. That's actually something we can prove because it's out in the open. There's been a lot of this happening in Australia. Will continue to grow.
Shocking reality for Australia's victims of forced marriage. And it goes on to say here that there's around about 100 cases. There we go. Children as young as 6 years old are being forced into child marriage in Australia, and more than 100 cases of forced child marriage are currently being investigated by the Australian Federal Police, new figures reveal. Well, when was this written? 2019.
So you can imagine
this is why they want Sharia courts, so they can get away with this sort of stuff.
Well, it's much easier for them to hide if they've got their own Sharia courts like they do in the UK now.
Yeah.
There's my uncle Brian there. He's just said it's definitely happening here in Australia, and he's all over it. He's been on this stuff for years and years with fighting the fight for against the pedophiles in whether it be the Catholic Church or the any of these other institutions. He's been all over it, but definitely it's happening. But the difference, and this is where I have this argument with people quite often when I have this discussion, because when you hold a position and you're willing to defend it and it upsets people, they're going to fight you and argue with you. And people say, yeah, but the Catholic Church has got pedophiles. Pedophilia exists there. Yeah, we're not justifying what they do, but you're trying to justify what Muhammad did in marrying a 6-year-old, because he's the perfect example. It's completely different. And what's happened in the Catholic Church with child abuse is in no way justifiable biblically. And in Christianity, there's nothing in Christianity that says that's okay. Whereas in Islam, it is considered to be okay because Muhammad did it, and that's the difference. And the reason that we're having this discussion, because this is about Bondi, right, is because we're talking about the ideologies that have been allowed to come into this country and how we shouldn't allow it and it shouldn't exist in this country. And actually, we have kind of gone on a bit of a tangent, but I think we should come back to the actual point, which is the government is bringing in these more extreme gun laws when. Right, and think about this, how ridiculous this is. But it's obviously, I think, the greater agenda is bringing these tighter gun laws. And we've already got really tight gun laws, but they didn't protect us when there was a guy with 2 people on an ASIO list. They could get a gun license and have these long arm rifles. And as a result of that, we end up with this situation. I think that they would have known this situation. The government would have known this situation is going to happen because they're bringing in all these people with radical views into this country, allowing them to have weapons, powerful rifles when I couldn't get a powerful rifle because of for whatever reason. I know that they would just say, no, you can't nick Patterson because you've got an organisation called Fight Corrupt Police on a Telegram channel. So for that reason, you can't have it. But you can have jihadis who are on these extreme lists have the capacity to get licensed weapons, right? And so now what they're going to do is they're going to restrict the weapons. They're not weapons. Restrict gun owners, gun rights that we don't even really have anymore, or liberties, even more. When come on, you're taking the piss. Just get rid of these people. We don't have. It's not the guns. It's the people that have the guns. That's the issue, isn't it?
Here's the frustrating thing. Look at this. I'll show you something quickly. 1 second.
Yeah.
The frustrating thing is Look at this. Australian Criminal Intelligence Commission conservatively estimates there are more than 260,000 firearms in the domestic illicit market. Illicit market. So the thing that I see over and over and over again, the first thing that they do is try and tighten down the controls on firearms. And then what happens? What happened during Sunday? They're saying that there's probably even up to 800,000 illicit firearms in Australia.
Yep.
But in the end, what happens? This is what happens. Let me show you.
Just start to shoot for 20 minutes.
Can you tell me what
This
happened?
guy.
Yes, there was 2 shooters, one on the bridge, one under the bridge. Just start to shoot for 20 minutes. They shoot, change magazine and just shoot. Simple as that. 20 minutes was 4 policemen there. Nobody give fire back. Nothing. Like they are froze. Like for it looked like 20.
Can you tell me what?
So they want to disarm us, right? And now we're sitting there, you know, like at the mercy of the police doing something. Yet they sat there for 20 minutes. Now, look, I ain't a police officer. I don't know. I'm not here to judge them or whatever. But at the end of the day, bad people are going to get their hands on illegal things. That's just the way it is. And I like what.
So the weapons that they had, or the guns they had, were not illegal ones. This is the thing. Those guys
That's right, yeah.
were on the ASIO list, right? And yet they had legal firearms. But it doesn't matter because the point is it's so easy to get an illegal firearm if you know people. It's not hard. And if you can just get an illegal firearm, and it's not that hard, and they reckon there's more illegal firearms now than they had legal ones back before or was it 1993 or 1996? I think it was where they had the Port Arthur, and then obviously they had the gun buyback. There's more illegal firearms now than there were back then with legal firearms, right? So if that's the case, and I know, you know, just like a lot of people that are in the real world, they know that all the criminals have guns. All of them have them, and they have access to them. So gun regulation only restricts the people who are willing to abide by it.
Yep.
So it just makes the general populace weaker and more at risk of being violently, because you and I aren't going to go on a shooting rampage, are we? It's the people that are going to go that are extreme jihadi types that we have an issue with, and that are a risk. And these are the ones that actually would get an illegal firearm and go and shoot people. Anyway, that's what's going to happen. So they're going to bring in restrictions, stricter laws, which isn't going to make a difference to whether or not those kinds of people have guns and shoot people. And if we actually, you go on. I'm talking too much, mate.
No, it's all right. No, I was going to say, I love what Topperfield said. He released a video yesterday and he goes, if every single person or just one of those people that were pointing the video cameras at those shooters, right, instead of pointing a video camera, they were pointing a gun, that would have been over real quick.
Well, you see in the US, so I've done some armed work over there on the Arizona-Mexican border because they have very loose gun control over there, or, you know, basically over there, if you have you have a right to bear arms in most of those loose states, with you know, and you have a right. Well, you have a right to bear arms across the board. I mean, it's constitutional, but a lot of the states are very are much freer than the strict states, and where they have looser gun laws, like in Arizona, Texas, you know, a lot of the Midwest states, they have far lower crime, far lower, you know, crimes in the crime statistics area than we do with the looser states. So, you know, Texas doesn't have as much crime as New York does. And why is that? You know, or Arizona doesn't have as much crime as California does per capita. Why is that? Because of the guns. Who's going to go and commit a violent crime when half the people are carrying weapons? They're not. But the government here thinks that it's okay for, to take more and more rights. Like we can't even get handguns to protect you. There's no law that enables us, or no right or legislation that allows people in Australia to have a gun to protect themselves. Did you know that? Not you cannot have a gun to protect yourselves.
Yeah, that's they make it as hard as possible.
No, there is no law. Nothing that allows you to have a gun. You can only have a gun for sport or for things like that. That's it. Or protection of money, to protect money, but not to protect yourself. Don't you think that's a bit odd that you can't protect yourself, even though it's getting more and more violent, more and more dangerous, and there's more and more gun violence wherever they restrict gun rights for the general populace. There seems to be more and more gun crime. There seems to be more and more people getting shot with guns there.
Yeah, it's a nanny state. Now, once again, it's what we've been saying this whole time, that the government causes a problem. Ben Thompson said it as well. I agree with you, my man. The government causes a problem. Albanese sat on his hands, and he saw the hate speech in the streets. He saw, the rhetoric, the warning that he was getting, and he knew exactly what he was doing. He knows what he's doing. He wants this to happen because the problem.
Are you saying that Albanese is not stupid, that he actually knows what he's doing?
He knows, he's stupid because he's a puppet. He just goes along with whatever he's told to do.
Yep.
He's a sock puppet. So at the end of the day, he knows, he knew that, this was going to happen. He's got his tail between his legs now. But, it's funny because people say, because the government's stupid or the government's scared. They're not scared. They're doing it because they want to have full control. Tighten up the net around us. I've got a video, one sec. I'll just show this quickly.
You know why before you put that up, why the police, the claim for the police as to why, or the justification as to why they weren't shooting back at the shooters is because they had short arms, not long arms. And there is something to that. Like if you've got a handgun and someone's got a rifle, very hard to be accurate with a handgun. If you've shot handguns, they're not accurate like a long arm is.
Yeah. Let me just add this quick. What's going on? There we go.
Gunman wearing a dark hoodie emerges from a back pew. Video captures the moment a gunman wearing a dark hoodie emerges from a back pew, drawing his gun and firing inside this Texas church during Sunday morning service.
Behind?
The gunshots sparking panic in the pews. Worshippers seen ducking for cover. One man covering his wife with his own body. 6 seconds into the shooting, 2 members of the church security team returned fire, hitting the gunman, dropping him to the ground.
So that was over in 6 seconds. 6 seconds.
911 calls came shortly before 11 a.m.
Active.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like the Swiss model and the US model, where the majority of people have guns. They have the ability to have guns. They're able to carry them, carry them. In many states, conceal carry, where they have weapons, and guns can be weapons there, as opposed to in Australia where you can't. It's not a weapon. You can't have a weapon. Can't have a gun be a weapon. It can only be something that's used as a tool for farming, to kill animals, or for sport. And very few people actually have the ability to have a short arm for sport shooting. Whereas in the US, you can have a gun to defend yourself. In Switzerland, I think it's the same. You can have a gun to be used to defend yourself. And defend your family and defend others. Because in Australia, in the legislation, in Victoria, we have 322K of the Crimes Act, allows you to defend yourself or somebody else, but you don't have the power to do it with any actual any weapons, like guns. It just has to be your bare hands. But the problem is, a lot of these criminals that they're bringing them over deliberately, get access to illegal firearms. One of my mates was involved in a home invasion. He wasn't involved in a home invasion. He was a victim of it. It was actually his wife that was there. It was my mate's home, and his wife was there when a gang came in, invaded the home, and they had a gun. One of them had a gun.
I'll show you what this is. Just quickly, the police station is like literally a 5-minute walk from Bondi Beach.
Yep.
Literally. There's Bondi Beach police station. So you'll think to yourself, and there's also been another video where a guy jumped out of his car and wrestled the first shooter down. So there was shooting way before they got to the bridge. Way before they got to the bridge. Now, look, I'm not here, we don't have all the answers. I mean, it's still, coming to light and stuff. But this is the point. The point is they bring in these people. They bring in people that don't have the same understanding or the same love that, Western civilization has, because it's based on Judeo-Christian civilization. And they know that they're going to make problems. They know that. That's why the same Islamic hate preacher that said that he's elated when October the 7th happened, nothing was done. In fact, Albanese went and had a speech there. He spoke at one of Albanese's talks or something, that same Muslim preacher. So nothing gets done. They know exactly what they're doing. They just want to bring in more control.
When I was in high school, because I went back to high school, I think I was 18 when September 11 happened. I went back to high school. I was in VCE, and I remember because I'd left for a little while, and I remember there was a guy from I can't remember where he was from, but he was he was from the Middle East anyway, and he was a Muslim evangelist. He was right into his Islamic ideology, and he was trying to convert me to Islam, and I was like, oh yeah, I'll entertain it. I never would have become a Muslim. I was staunchly Christian, but I just smiled at him. Yeah, no worries. We'd have the discussions, and I would I'd humour him a bit, and he would do the same to me when I'd try to convince him of Christianity. Anyway, when September 11 happened, he was very happy that it happened. I remember it was shocking to me. This was actually probably the eye opener for me when I think back to it, to the Islamic mindset, because he was saying to me and trying to convince me that it was a good thing that September 11 had happened. Now, this was before any of us knew that there was more to it, and there probably wasn't even blamed. Who knows? But it was. A lot of it was controlled operations, Building 7. But this was before anyone knew any of this, especially we were much younger. I had no idea. I just, I sort of believed that the mainstream narrative. But so did this guy. He believed it was an Islamic attack, and he thought it was great. And I said to him, how can you think it's great? He said, oh, America deserves this. It needed to happen. I thought, mate, these are innocent people in a building, you idiot. And I remember we had a big argument about it, verbal argument over it. I just thought, how can you think that's okay? But he did. So you're bringing people into the country who are happy for people en masse to be killed who are innocent because he's a Muslim. That's why he thinks that, and because he believes that that's okay. Whereas I'm not saying every Muslim believes that, but this one who's very, very I guess, prim and proper when it comes to his religious ideology. He was a preacher. That's what he was training to be a preacher. When he was preaching to me, for a long time at school. He was 19. I know he was 19. And that's what they think, right? And regardless of whether or not it was Mossad who just did that, or it was this group or that group, or it was Dick Cheney or whatever it is, we don't And I don't believe the official story, but the fact of the matter is, these Islamic people still thought it was good before we knew it was a controlled operation. They thought it was good. When we believed the official story, many of these Muslim guys, including this Muslim evangelist, believed it was a good thing that happened. And that's what we're bringing into this country.
Yeah, where I was working at the time, I had an Afghan worker, and he would always celebrate. He'd be like, "Yes, death to the devil, America," when it happened. And he was celebrating it. He thought it was the funniest thing ever. He thought it was the best thing ever. And you're like, are you serious, man? What are you doing? But
yeah, we shouldn't be bringing these people who that are part of the death cult into this country. It wouldn't be hard to vet them, to vet a lot of that out, and they don't. They obviously don't. And now they're bringing hundreds of thousands of them over here. There's no way you can vet them. Couldn't vet them when we were bringing small numbers over. How are you going to vet them when you're bringing tenfold over? You can't. It's impossible. So we're going to have more and more of this. We're going to have to defend ourselves, and of course, they're going to make it harder and harder for us to defend ourselves, because they're going to take away any capacity for us to have legal firearms and anything that could be considered a weapon, like a machete, right? Whereas all the criminals are going to have all the other stuff, and all the people they're going to bring over, they don't respect our laws. They're turning you into victims. Don't be a victim.
I think what Ben's saying, people are so gun new that they thought it was fireworks and walk towards it. They don't even know what guns or rounds sound like. That's right. And I think the guy who wrestled the gun away from the dad, I don't think he knew how to fire the weapon, probably. That's what goes through my mind. What do you reckon, Nick?
Yeah, because I'll tell you what, that would have been it. I would have been telling the guy, get down, get down, get down. And he didn't, and he would have just kept moving. I would have had to shoot him. You can't let them continue doing what they're doing. And, you you got the weapon off him, but you guaranteed he's got other ones. And actually they did. They had six firearms. 6.
Well, the interesting thing is he had 6 firearms while his son was under investigation by ASIO. How does that work out? How does that happen?
Well, there you go. There you go. We're at war with our government, and then our government that we're at war with are bringing over more and more people, letting them in who are going to be at war with us as well, ideologically, religiously. And then people go, yeah, but some of the Muslims are nice people. Yeah, they are. But they're not all. Between 10 to 25% of them hold extremist views across the board, whether it be, you look it up, mate, but that's across the board. It's 10 to 25% of Muslims in Western countries hold to extremist views. Yeah, but you know what? We're going to bring the engineers and the doctors over here from that part from these extremist ideological countries where they have these extremist views and they believe these extremist, things that they believe that I think Islam is the epitome of an superiority ideology. I think that it's an ideology that says that we are better than everyone else.
Well, you and I, we're ready to
die. Does it not? Does it not, Ben? You're married to an ex-Muslim. Does it not teach that they're superior?
100%. Yeah, that they're part of the winners. That they're part of the winners. But you and I, Nick, we're ready to die for our faith, right? Because Christianity requires everything like to give your all. But what? To give your all to others, to live for others, to die for others, to die for the truth, right? That's what we're called to do, to fight for the truth. But Islam will do the same thing. To them, it's the truth. To marry a 6-year-old, to have 4 wives, all this sort of stuff, they're ready to die for that. Why? Because
So-
if you're not, you're not ready. They're taught to proselytize, even unto death. That if you don't receive Islam, you don't pay your jizya, you die. That's it. There's just no other way.
You don't pay the jizya tax. So this is where they say you're free to be to whatever you want. You want to be under the Islamic law or the Sharia. You can be free to be whatever religion as long as you pay us X amount of money. And if you don't, this is how it works. This is the actual legitimate version of the of Islam politically, is that you can't be anything other than a Muslim unless you pay the Muslim people money, the Muslim government money, and its protection. And you're a second class citizen if you are paying that money, and if you don't have the ability to financially pay that money, then they can basically take your children off you and take you. If you wouldn't want to have a beautiful daughter. Because I tell you what would be happening there. And this is reality. And then obviously all the nice Muslims that get angry at me and say, oh, Nick, that's so horrible what you're saying. But it's the truth of what happens in Islamic countries that are now, the majority Muslim when they never were before. And the people didn't become Muslims of their own free volition. They were forced to. That was it. Or they were pressured to, severely pressured to. Anyway.
Yeah. What are we going to do? 1 second. Let me just put this up quickly. Yeah, you're right, Terry. The couple that wrestled the gun away from the dad, they were shot. Brave people. Brave people that did everything in their power to stop things before it happened. That they didn't consider their own lives. Let me see if I've got that video. 1 second.
And then there was that other fella that wrestled, and some people say that he was a Maronite Christian, others are saying he was a Muslim. Regardless, it doesn't matter. Just because whether a Muslim person was one of the guys that wrestled, there's a lot of good Muslim people who have a conscience, but Islam is against the conscience. That's the issue, and because of that, people that hold to Islam, fervently, are much more likely to commit crimes like this than people that hold to any other religion.
I'll just put this up quick.
Into the newsroom showing what are 2 more heroes of this horrific attack. The vision is from the dash cam of a passing car, showing footage of a couple confronting one of the gunmen, the father, before the pair had made it to the footbridge where they began their deadly shooting rampage. And a warning, some viewers may find these pictures confronting. In the beginning of this clip, you can see a man in a purple T-shirt falling to the ground along with one of the gunmen. And we understand that the couple got out of their car and confronted the shooter as they got out of their car carrying their rifles. The man in the purple shirt then takes the gunman's weapon and falling to the ground. You can see it there from 2 different angles captured on car dash cam. And sadly, in later vision, which is too graphic to show, the couple are seen...
Poor guy's carrying it like a bat.
...being shot dead by the gunman. The first of the victims from this bloody rampage.
If he was in America, mate, they would have known how to use their guns and they would have just shot him and finished it straight away.
Yep.
Yeah, it's heartbreaking.
Guns are bad. Idiots that don't know how to use guns with guns are bad. And that's bad. Evil people with guns are bad. People that are untrained with guns are bad. if they've got guns. But people that know how to use them and have a good moral compass and have a good ideology are not bad. You're not going to get Christians going around killing people with guns because they're Muslim. That just doesn't happen. But you will get Muslims doing it to Christians, Muslims doing it to Jews, Muslims doing it to Muslims doing it to other Muslims. And I'm not saying the majority of Muslims, but there is a high minority that do believe and hold to those values of killing people who don't hold to their religious ideology. That is what happens. And I'm going to offend every Muslim because all Muslims get offended when I say that, but it's true.
This is a problem that we have, is that we've been so, as a society, we've been disarmed. We've been disarmed because we have our food provided for us. We have, the protection of the state. Well, now we get fined. Doesn't matter where you go. If you're caught with your phone or whatever else, it's all for your protection. Everything is for our protection. It's the nanny state. We can't do anything. But it's all there. It's all introduced because they're bringing in more and more people with a mindset that they want to overtake Western civilization. Stay in your own country, mate. Don't come here. Leave us alone. What do you do?
Yeah, well, I just it's time to call it out and to really fight against these awful and extreme ideologies that are these Islamic ideologies, as well as the Marxist ideologies as well.
Yeah. What else? What else can I find? Sorry. That last video pretty much sums it up. One sec, I'll put this on. I'll fast forward because I reckon this is pretty important. Yeah.
By now, one of the shooters, Sajid Akram, aged 50, is dead. The other, his son Naveed Akram, 24, wounded and detained by police.
I'm smiling and I'm happy.
Yeah.
I'm elated. It's a day of courage. It's a day of pride. It's a day of victory. This is the day we've been waiting for.
They're saying that they're not saying gas the Jews. They're saying, where's the Jews? I mean, is it any better? Where's the Jews? Oh, look where they are. They're in Bondi.
They were absolutely saying gas the Jews on that occasion, and that guy that was saying, and they were saying that was during when October 7 happened. They were saying all this stuff. These people, just get them out of our country. They don't share our values. They're not our mates. They'll pretend to be our friends, and they'll play on these fake friendships, so that they can promote these ideas. I lost when I became staunchly against.
Nick, your video is frozen. Maybe you need to just have a look at what's going on. I don't know why it's frozen.
Yeah, give me a sec.
Yeah, look, Jeremy, I'll tell you where to from here. Every single Christian needs to try and bring as many Muslims over away from their insane ideology and bring them over to our side. Just get them saved. That's why they're here. I don't think that anything happens for no reason. I truly believe in my heart of hearts that God allowed them to come here so they can be preach to and proselytize to, so that they can see the error of Muhammad's ways and the lies and the deceptions in the Quran. Because they can't do it where they are. They can't do it in India or Pakistan or Afghanistan or whatever, without getting killed. So now that they're here, I strongly suggest to every Christian, proselytize, go out. I think, was it Ben Thompson that was saying he was going out, or one of the earlier commenters, he said he's sick and tired of seeing people, these Muslims preaching on the corners. Go and challenge them. Speak to them. Nick and I went a few weeks back, and they clearly lie. They lie. They know they're lying. And you got to point it out, because a lot of Christians, they don't, they either don't know their Bible or they don't check what the Word of God says. And I think pretty much everybody.
Can you hear me? Because I can't get this camera to work. I don't know why. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. I can hear you, but I can't. We can't see you.
So yeah, we caught them out lying. Like when we proved that what they were saying was false, we proved them. They went, oh no, and then and they were. You could see that these guys, not all of them, but there was quite a few of them. And a mate of mine was there as well, and there was that other lady there that was with us as well, evangelist. She was basically debating with these evangelists that we caught them out lying about that they were saying things that they knew were false, and when we called them out on it, they still were arguing with us and as to whether or not it was false. But they knew, it was obvious that they knew that it was false, and that's what they do. That's what they do.
Once again, it's that spirit of delusion, and we all have to do that self-check that we're not falling into the spirit of delusion. Because everything makes sense when we have this. The way I see it, correct me if I'm wrong, the Bible says, do not be deceived. God is not mocked. What you sow is what you reap. And because God is righteous and just, he has to allow us to reap what we sow. If we do it under Christ, yes, there's mercy and there's grace. But we don't do it under Christ, we have to reap what we sow. That's why every man that lives by the law will be judged by all of the law. The word is very clear. So my suggestion is, as much as possible, we've got to do a self-check that, the truth, the word says, Jesus said, thank you, Father, for hiding these things from the learned and the wise. Think about it. He's literally saying that the Father is hiding truths from the learned and the wise. Why? People that are learned in their own minds, in their own understanding, because the truth is revealed. He says, but revealing it to the simple and the innocent. And that's where we have to be as innocent and as simple as possible, so that we empty ourselves from our own opinions and our own understanding and our own ideology and pursue Christ and Christ alone. Jesus said very clearly, he goes, I only do what I see my Father doing. And that's what made him God on earth. That's why he's God on earth, because he didn't do anything from himself. We want to wrap it up, Nick, because we can't see you, mate. We happy to.
No worries. No, look, we just got to defend our culture and our values. We need to get rid of this disgusting government in this country that lets these people in that are just barbarians that want to kill us and shoot us and all that. And we need to defend our culture, which is a Christian. You got to understand that this is a Christian culture. Our constitution literally starts off with humbly relying upon the blessings of Almighty God. We literally have a flag that is St. Andrew's cross, St. George's cross, and St. Patrick's cross. St. Andrew was literally one of the 12 disciples of Jesus. Our culture and our values and our legal system, literally, all the good stuff that we have in our culture comes from biblical principles that we've had for thousands of years. Equality before the law, equality between the genders, not the woke version, but the reason we have human dignity and human value the way we have in the West, that's biblical. That's because we're made in God's image. And people don't understand this newer generation doesn't understand that we have these human dignity and value in the West, it comes from our biblical understanding. The reason we abolished slavery is because of the Bible verse. Specifically, one of them specifically was, that we do unto others as you have them do unto you. That concept, that principle. So, if you want to defend all of this prosperity that we have, you want to defend our values and our culture, then we need to actually speak out and actually call out this garbage, this Islamic garbage, this this communist garbage. But if you don't want to offend anybody, then just then be willing to lose all of this.
Amen.
That's it, mate. It frustrates me. Anyway, guys, thanks for joining. Thanks for and we don't hate Muslims. We don't hate anyone. We love everyone. That's part of our Christian walk. You should love your enemies. You love those who do evil to you. You do good to those who despitefully use you. We don't hate anyone, but what we do is we call out the evil and the fruitful works of darkness. We shout it out from the rooftops, because that's what we're called to do. And it's not easy, it's not comfortable. And actually living a comfortable and an easy life is not a biblical Christian life at all. So yeah, that's pretty much it, mate. Thanks for joining us, guys.
God bless you all. And look, if you haven't heard of Jesus, or if you're not a Christian, or if you see this and you're not a Christian, give your life to Jesus. He came, he died, he rose again on the third day. He came to die for yours and my sins. Why? There has to be recompense. For a righteous and a just God has to require recompense. You can't just get away by doing whatever you want and then for no punishment or for no ramifications. But he fulfilled that completely by coming and sending his son to die on the cross for us. And if you're not a Christian, please give your life to Jesus. Look it up. This world and everything that's happening in it only makes sense with a Christian point of view. It can't make sense in any other way. It doesn't make sense. It's confusing and it's insane. But from a Christian point of view, it makes sense. God bless you all. Have a good night.